Hey everybody, this week I want you to experiment a little bit with augmented reality, and I have a few options for you. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create your own augmented reality app using a Mac and Xcode and an iPhone. So if you're an Apple person and you have all of those things, then go ahead and watch this video. If you don't have those things, then watch the next video, and that's going to focus on Spark AR, which is created by Facebook, and it is meant to be exported to Instagram and Facebook as a face filter. So that is cross-platform. It's something that everyone could do. But if you're an Apple person and you do want to experience building your own little augmented reality app, then this is the video for you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can kind of see what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is go to Tracks, and on our Tracks resources folder, you should be able to see a folder on augmented reality. So I'm going to go ahead and get there, click on resources, and then here in the AR files is going to be a folder called the AR exercise. And that's going to pull up a Word file for you, and that's what you can see over here on the right. This augmented reality exercise, this first part is on Xcode, and the next part is going to be on the Spark AR Studio. So the first thing you'll need to do is install this program called XCode. XCode is a free program put on by Apple. XCode Apple, I'll just type that in on Google, and you can go there on the App Store and download it. It does take forever to download. It's a very heavy program, and also it is going to require you to make sure that you have the operating system. What I'm using here is going to be 10.15.4. So what I did is I downloaded the most recent version of OS, and then I'm installing Xcode 11. And it did take a while to make sure all those things were updated. And you also need to make sure that your phone is updated to the most recent version as well. So it does take a while to download and update all those things if you haven't already. So that's a big first step, really, in getting this going. Then create an Apple developer account at developer.apple.com. And once you click the account at the top, type in your Apple account and password and accept the terms. It's a very quick process, but you do have to become an Apple developer in order to use this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up Xcode. It may take a while to load. But when you first start with an Xcode project, you can do a playground, but we're going to do create a new Xcode project here. And that's the second option right here. And we're going to choose build an augmented reality app. I'm going to go ahead and press next. And I'm going to give my product a name. I'll just call it testing. And then here in the organization identifier, we can type in whatever we want. I typed in com.zmickly. That allows it to kind of connect to my particular, if I was a developer, a real developer, then I could make sure that it has my organization identifier there. And then in the team, that's where you're going to go ahead and do a drop down and sign in with your Apple developer account. It might take a couple minutes to do that, but it does say here, add account, and that's basically step 4 is how to do that. Then once I've done that, since I'm already signed in and everything, I'm going to press next and leave everything else the way it is. And now I got to find a place to save this thing, and I'll go ahead and just save it on my desktop. That way I always have it here, and it's easy to find. You could also save it in obviously your downloads folder or documents or wherever you want to save it. And what we see here is the interface for Xcode. There are a lot of different panels and everything here right within Xcode. The left is all your files and folders. And it has lots of different options here as you kind of go through your app. Xcode is specifically built for app developers. So if you're creating a brand new app, you would code it in this language called Swift. It's similar to Python in some ways and JavaScript, but basically you can create variables, and basically everything that you need for your app to be developed is written in this language called Swift. And this is our whole hierarchy of files. Now here in our files, we have this thing called experience.rc project, and this is where we're going to actually be able to create our augmented reality app. Now up here in the top right, it says open in Reality Composer, and Reality Composer is another whole app that was kind of installed along with Xcode that allows you to visually create different functions and abilities right here within Xcode. So you don't have to necessarily know a lot of code to do this, you can really be very visual with it. So it'll bring up this new window that has its own kind of little interface to it. And the dead center is basically where the kind of starting point is for this. They added a little cube here, and you can move that cube around, and it helps that we already went through Unity because it's very similar that you can move it along the X, Y, or Z axes, and you can kind of move things around. So knowing that the dead center is the middle, you could take this thing and move it wherever you need to, or we could add some new objects. And that's the idea here, is that you're going to create some kind of a small experience that will integrate shapes and text and any kind of maybe a game element to it as well. But I'm going to take this cube and just delete it. So I selected it and pressed the delete button. And I'm going to add a new item by clicking this plus sign, and it says add. Now I can add any kind of basic geometric shape. They also have all kinds of extra features, like even this balloon, and I'm sure that if I added that, it would float up. So I don't know, I'm going to give it a shot here. So once I grab it, you do have to obviously download it, but I'm going to drag it in to my project. All I had to do was click and drag, and not only will it import, but it will also download the associated files and the needed files for it. And then again, I can move it wherever I need to. If I want to go a little bit higher or to the right or to the left, I might want to make it a little bit high there. And then let's see, I could add another little object. Might as well just go ahead and, I don't know, I'll add a little pool cue as well. Again, all you need to do is just drag it in, and there it is. Now, once you have these elements, you can move around your canvas just by grabbing kind of the mid-air area, and then you can grab the actual objects by moving them around. Now, once you have an object selected, over here on the right panel, you have some options to transform it. You can make it larger and smaller. A lot of this looks very similar to Unity and a lot simpler, I'm sure. We could change the look and the feel of it, and that's kind of messing with the texture of it. And then we can choose whether or not it participates in physics. Now, physics allows you to create gravity, and you can give it some different effects. Like, for example, if we want this thing to be fixed, and I held it up here, well, the balloon is a good example of that. That is something that we do want to be at least fixed right now. And so if I go and choose participates in physics, now it's going to be basically stuck where it is, going to float there. Now, if I want this ball to not float there, I would choose dynamic, and that allows it to have different properties as well. So if I choose concrete, it means it's going to be pretty heavy. It's going to have the attributes that concrete would have. If it had rubber, it might bounce. If it had plastic, it would fall over or have those characteristics. So then we can choose exactly what kind. So this is a sphere. It'll act like a sphere. If we wanted it to act like a box, then it wouldn't roll, but we do want it to roll. And then beyond that, you could also create what's called behaviors. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the behaviors panel, and there are no behaviors applied to it. So I'm going to go ahead and press the plus button, and say if I wanted to tap on the item and it would flip around, or if I wanted it to tap and play a sound. So let's go ahead and do that. When I tap the ball, it will make a sound. That's kind of what I've chosen here. Now I have to choose the sound that it will play. So I can play it. See, it did that little audio clip. I could replace it with whatever I want to, not just the happy chime. You'd obviously have to download it, but or import a song or whatever you want to do. But basically now when I tap this thing, it will play the chime sound, which is pretty cool. And so basically that's what we're going to do here within the Reality Composer, is creating some objects. We can even create some text, and it's going to be 2D text that you could really put wherever you want to in your scene. It can give instruction, and you can just double click on it, and it will give us, actually you got to click on the properties panel here, and then you can change the text to say really whatever you want it to say. Testing, and then you can also change just some basic material around it and texture around it, change the size, and then you can also even change the thickness, so it can be kind of a thicker sign, things like that. So adding text, adding objects, and then even adding behaviors on those objects. So that's just a quick little rundown of it. Once you're done, you can really just X out of this whole window, the Reality Composer window, and just press the X button. And now we're back in XCode. with all of these objects that are applied. And not only are they applied, but it's also added some code behind the scenes for it to actually work. Now, in order for this to work on my phone, I've taken this iPhone connector and I need to plug it into my actual phone here. And you do have to press the trust button and make sure that it's trusting your computer. And there's some things you have to do on the screen here. But once it's connected, you should up here in the top be able to select your phone from the list of devices. You can also add a device and make sure that, when I first connected mine, it did not connect because it was out of date. I had to do some updates on my phone. So that's one thing you have to be aware of. I'm gonna press this because it's now gonna actually be on my phone. And then I can press the play button. And it's basically building this project onto my phone into a new app called Testing. Okay, now here is my app. I'm gonna press testing. Now it will say it's from an untrusted developer, so you do have to go back into your settings account and choose general, and then choose device management, and then choose this to trust because you are now a developer, we have to be able to trust that. Now once that's done, we can go back into the app and press testing, and now you can see, hopefully, pops up. We gotta access the camera, press OK. And now it should detect the floor, and there it is. And now when I press the cue ball, there it is. So when I press the actual button, it's making that chime sound. So basically that's the little app that I created. Pretty simple if you have all the correct connections and programs and software. And so that's the little demo on how to use XCode with a Mac. Now to turn this in, what I want you to do is basically screen record you using the app and then post that to our Facebook page. So turn on the screen recorder, show us using the app and just kind of show us what you've done with it, and then take that image or that video and then post it to our Facebook page. And that's how I want you to turn this one in. So have fun with it and good luck.